You ever notice how the smallest, stupidest thing can blow up into the biggest mess? A single aisle, a single seat, a single person thinking they have the right to decide your worth, and suddenly someone's whole life gets rearranged. That's the story I'm going to tell you tonight about a man they thought was nobody, and how that mistake cost an entire company everything. Act 1. Hook. It was a Tuesday night at Cedar Bay Airport. Lights humming fluorescent glare that makes your eyes water, the kind of place where time slows and patience runs thin. My guy, call him Dr. Noah Price, walked through like any other traveler. Tall gray at the temples tailored suit that said he paid attention to details, carrying a battered leather briefcase that in truth held more leverage than most people would ever see in a lifetime. He had a full-fare first-class ticket he'd booked it weeks ago, and there was a meeting in London at 8 a.m. that could not, under any circumstances, be missed. At Gate C12, the voice over the speaker said, "We are oversold volunteers for vouchers, please approach. Standard line, blah blah." Noah ignored the announcement because, well, he was first class, he had a skin in the game, right? But the gate agent, a woman named Karen with a badge that made her feel important, didn't see a customer. She saw someone she could boss around. When Noah flashed his ticket, she printed something, her nails tapping like a judge's gavel, and without looking up said, "There's a flag on your reservation." "A flag?" Noah asked, calm as a lake. "I checked in 2 days ago. The computer, Karen said they needed that seat for crew transport. Deadheading crews take priority federal regs, yada yada." Noah explained he was the lead negotiator for an energy compact that his presence in London at 8 would determine hundreds of jobs, millions of dollars, and that he paid for the seat. Karen rolled her eyes. The classic look, you are a problem I will solve with attitude. She called security. Noah knew the history. He knew how a man like him, black, soft-spoken, polite, could become the evening's entertainment if he raised his voice. He kept it low. "Fine, I'll talk to the captain." He walked onto the plane expecting bureaucratic nonsense, not malice. That's the thing. There's a difference between an error and a decision to be cruel, and that night the plane's crew made the cruel choice. The captain, let's call him Captain Ross, leaned on the bulkhead with that captain swagger cheap grin and a posture that said he could do whatever he wanted. "Problem?" he asked like this was a funny interruption. Noah explained. Ross laughed. "Buddy, the airline owns this seat. We can put you off, take the voucher, problem solved." Noah's patience went from measured to cold. "Removing me will be catastrophic for your company," he said, not as a threat, more like a fact. Ross's answer was to call the contracted security team and label Noah non-compliant. Act 2. The turning point. They played it like law, but it was theater. The security guys who showed up were not cops. They were muscle men hired to keep things tidy and quiet. The lead security officer barked orders, cracked knuckles, and said, "Sir, you need to stand up." Noah responded with the kind of calm that makes people uncomfortable. "I'm sitting. I paid for this seat. I'm not a danger." His voice was measured, each word a little brick laid to build a wall. And then the physical thing happened. Sudden, disproportionate, awful. They grabbed his arm like they were hauling luggage. One shoved him. Noah's shoulder popped with a sick sound, his glasses flew. His face hit plastic and a fine line of blood traced down his temple. People screamed, phones came out the cabin, turned into a constellation of glowing screens. A passenger in row 3, a young woman, started filming. Her hands were shaking, but she filmed everything. You could hear the crack of bone on plastic, the way dignity breaks in a sound no one should ever have to hear. Noah didn't fight back. He couldn't. He was stunned, hurt, bewildered. They dragged him off the plane like he was baggage. On the jet bridge, his briefcase burst open, confidential papers flying like confetti into a world that suddenly needed to know. They shoved him into a holding cell under the terminal, a concrete box where you go when people want you out of sight. "We'll book him on charges in the morning," someone said like they were tidying up a mess. Noah sat on cold concrete, one hand on his shoulder, thinking quiet as a storm, because while his body ached, his mind was working. Here's the part they didn't count on. Noah had set his phone to upload automatically, and he had a tiny voice recorder app running. He'd done it out of habit, a man who traveled with secrets and backups. The moment someone hit him, the app kept recording and a passenger's video uploaded to the web within minutes. The internet smelled blood, and trading floors smell blood faster. By midnight, the clip was everywhere. People watched the Couch of America in real time and were disgusted. A finance influencer with millions of followers paused the video at a frame, saw Noah's briefcase emblem, and the narrative pivoted. He wasn't just any passenger. He was a key player in a global energy agreement. If he missed the meeting, the agreement would collapse, and that collapse meant catastrophic losses for anyone tied to a certain airline. Hedge funds smelled an opportunity, short sellers sharpened their knives, and markets started selling. In one day, the company, which we'll call Horizon Air, hemorrhaged value. Pre-market indicators dipped like a heartbeat, skipping, then flatlining. Executives woke up to story after story, calls from regulators and the governor tweeting about investigations. Karen's smugness turned to notifications of hatred, screenshots of her face on hot social posts. Messages that slid like acid across her phone. Captain Ross found himself on a no-fly list and social feeds calling for his license to be revoked. The private security firm realized their clean method of saving a seat had opened a box no PR team could close. But Noah didn't want pity, and he didn't want a check stuffed in an envelope to make things go away. He wanted accountability. He wanted structural change. He wanted them to understand that dignity is not negotiable. Act 3, the payoff. Noah walked back into the story with a lawyer who didn't do settlements, he did scalpel-level restructuring. They bought the distressed debt the banks were desperate to sell, converted obligations, and in a move that is almost Shakespearean. In its irony, Noah became the controlling creditor, then the controlling owner, of Horizon Air. The man they'd thrown down was now the person with the right to the keys. Picture the boardroom mahogany table. Executives with faces older than the day before, and Noah sling on his shoulder, walking in not to scream, but to sit. He didn't gloat. He spoke like someone who'd been betrayed by a system he thought would be rational. "You lost $30 billion because you forgot who you serve," he said, simple and quiet. He set terms and overbooking as a practice. Stop using paying customers as crew transport raise. Base pay for ground staff, mandatory de-escalation training. Public apology, firings where necessary, and criminal referrals where lies were told to law enforcement. What's important here is not the financial comeuppance, though, that was cinematic. It's that Noah used the same weapons they'd used against him. Leverage, contracts, cold calculation. But he used them to fix what started wrong. He didn't take vengeance for vengeance's sake. He forced a system-level change. And the people who thought they were untouchable, they were touched. The finale is messy, satisfying, and a little uncomfortable. The captain loses his license. The gate agent loses her job. The security firm is under investigation, and the company changes hands in a legal transaction so elegant it feels like a mic drop. Noah flies to London on his own terms. First-class seat 1A. The same leather that once held his pain now cushioned under his relief. He texts his wife, "I'm on my way," and there's a slow, weird peace. But here's where the story stays with you. Power can be a tool for fixing wrongs, and sometimes the person who's been stepped on is the one who has the most leverage. The story also shows how quick society is to judge, to weaponize small authorities, and how fragile public trust is for big corporations. Trust that evaporates in the span of a viral clip. So now I want to hear from you. Fast, honest. Was Noah right to buy the company to take control like that? Was that justice or opportunism dressed as justice? Do you think the gate agent and the captain deserve the fallout? Have you ever been dismissed, ignored, or treated like you didn't matter in a public place? And how did you react? Drop your story below. Argue. If you must call me out if you think I painted Noah too heroic or too cold, I read every comment. If this hit you, hit like, subscribe for more stories like this, and share the one you'd want your friends to hear. Because these nights at the airport happen more than we like to admit, and talking about them is how we stop letting small cruelties break people.